The lawyer's pen hovered over the document for exactly 3 seconds before he looked up at my parents and said the words that emptied the room. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice flat as a gavel strike. "But Arthur passed away at 4 o'clock m yesterday, and at 6 a.m. he executed a new will." My mother's wine glass stopped halfway to her mouth. My father's smile, the one he'd been wearing for 20 minutes while he talked about legacy and family values, froze and cracked. 11 faces turned to watch them crumble. They didn't, not yet. None of them knew the letter that explained why I was sitting in my purse beside my chair. And in about 90 seconds, that letter was going to turn this while reading into the quietest room in the state. Welcome back to Revenge Camera Stories, where ordinary people meet impossible families and answer with quiet steel instead of screaming. If a story has ever made you set down your coffee and whisper, "Good for her," you're in the right place. My name is Rachel Vance. I'm 32, and I'm a hospital administrator for St. Jude's Medical Center. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and be sure to subscribe. To explain how I ended up at that table holding the new will, I have to go back 6 months to the day my parents looked at their newborn grandson and decided he wasn't their problem. It was a Tuesday in November when my water broke. I was 38 weeks pregnant, working late at the hospital, filing patient intake forms when the contraction hit me like a freight train. I drove myself to labor and delivery. My husband, Mark, was out of town on a business trip, something we'd planned months ago. Before we knew the baby would come early, I called my mother. "Mom," I said, breathing through the pain, "I'm at the hospital. The baby's coming. Can you and Dad come? I might need someone to watch the baby if I go into surgery." There was a pause. I heard the TV in the background. A game show. "Rachel," she said, and her voice had that tone, the one that meant I was inconveniencing her. "We have bridge night. Your father and I can't just leave. I'm having your grandson," I said. "I might need help." "You made the baby." "Rachel," she said, "you deal with it. We'll come visit tomorrow if we have time." She hung up. I called my father. Same answer. "Your mother told you. We have plans. Don't guilt us, Rachel. You're a grown woman. Act like one." I put the phone down. The nurse came in. "No family?" She asked gently. "No," I said. "Just me." The labor was hard, fast, complicated. They had to do an emergency C-section when the baby's heart rate dropped. I was under anesthesia for 2 hours. When I woke up, my throat was raw. My stomach felt like it had been torn open. And the first thing I saw was the bassinet next to my bed. Inside was my son, Leo, small, red-faced, perfect, and sitting in the chair beside him, holding a bottle he'd warmed himself, was my grandfather, Arthur Vance, 84 years old, a man who'd built a construction empire from nothing and lost his wife 3 years prior, a man my parents had been quietly trying to move into assisted living 4 months because they wanted his house. "Hey, kiddo," he said. His voice was rough, but his hands were steady as he held Leo. "You gave us a scare. But he's good. Strong lungs. Good grip. Mom and Dad?" I asked. My voice was a whisper. "Grandpa didn't look up from Leo. They called me. Said they were busy. Said you were being dramatic." He finally looked at me. And in his eyes, I saw something I hadn't seen in a long time. Anger. "They refused to come." He asked. "They said they had bridge night." Grandpa's jaw tightened. He set the bottle down. He stood up. He walked to the side of my bed and put his hand on my shoulder. "You rest," he said. "I'm not going anywhere. And neither is he." He stayed for 3 days. He slept in the chair. He changed diapers. He learned how to swaddle from the nurses. He held Leo when I was too sore to lift my arms. My parents didn't visit once. They texted once on day 2. Hope you're okay. Let us know when you're home so we can drop off that casserole we made. They didn't come to the hospital. They didn't ask about Leo. They didn't offer to help. They were waiting for the inheritance. I knew it, Grandpa knew it. And I think, deep down, they knew I knew it. Here's the thing about being a hospital administrator. I know how systems work. I know how to document things. I know that every interaction in a hospital is recorded. Every call. Every visitor log. Every chart note. While I was lying in that bed, hooked up to monitors, I did what I do best. I gathered evidence. I asked the charge nurse to print the visitor log for my room. It showed 0 visits from my parents. It showed 72 hours of continuous presence from Arthur Vance. I asked my doctor to note in my chart that I had no family support during recovery. It's a standard note for social work referrals. He wrote it. Patient reports no familial support. Grandfather acting as primary caregiver during hospitalization. I didn't do this because I thought I'd need to sue them. I did it because I'd learned in my job that the truth isn't what people say. It's what the records show. And I had a feeling small, cold, certain that the records were going to matter soon. Because Grandpa wasn't just holding Leo, he was watching my parents. And I knew my grandfather better than anyone. When Arthur Vance got angry, he didn't yell. He didn't scream. He built and he destroyed. And he was building something in that hospital chair while my parents played bridge. On the 3rd day, I was being discharged. Mark had flown back. He was rushing around, packing bags, signing papers, trying to be everywhere at once. Grandpa took Leo from me. He held him close. He kissed the top of his head. Then he looked at me. "Rachel," he said, "come sit with me." We sat in the waiting area. The hospital was quiet. It was 2 a.m. The only sound was the ice machine and the hum of the vending machine. "I'm changing the will," he said. I blinked. "Grandpa, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." He reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a business card. "Margaret Howerin, estate law." "I called her this morning," he said. "She's meeting me at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I want you to come." "Grandpa, your house. Your money. My parents expect." "Your parents expect a lot of things," he said. "They expect the world to bend around them. They expect me to be senile. They expect you to be quiet." He looked at Leo, who was sleeping in his arms. "This boy," he said, "he has a mother who fought for him. He has a father who flew across the country to be here. And he has grandparents who wouldn't drive 20 minutes to hold him." He looked back at me. "I'm not leaving my estate to people who abandon family. I'm leaving it to the ones who show up." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Are you sure?" "I've been sure for a long time," he said. "I just needed to see it clearly. And this." He gestured to the hospital room. "This is clear." He handed me the card. "Be there tomorrow. And Rachel, don't tell your parents. Let them think everything is fine. Let them get comfortable." I nodded. "Good," he said, "because comfort makes people careless. And I want them to be very careless when they find out." The next morning, I met Grandpa at Margaret Howerin's office. Margaret was a sharp woman in her 60s, with glasses on a chain and a handshake that meant business. She'd handled Grandpa's affairs for 20 years. She knew my parents. She knew what they were like. She didn't ask questions. She just opened the file. "Arthur," she said, "you understand this revokes the previous will entirely." "I do," Grandpa said. "And you're leaving the house, the investments, and the liquid assets to Rachel Vance and her son, Leo Vance, in a trust until he turns 25. I am. And you're leaving your daughter and son-in-law nothing? Not a dime." Margaret nodded. She prepared the documents. Grandpa signed them. I witnessed them. Margaret notarized them. It took 40 minutes. As we left, Grandpa stopped in the parking lot. He leaned on his cane. He looked tired, older than I'd seen him in years. "Rachel," he said, "there's one more thing." He pulled an envelope from his coat, thick cream-colored, sealed with wax. "This is for you. Don't open it until after I'm gone." I froze, Grandpa. "I'm 84, he said. "I've had a good run. But my heart, it's not what it used to be. And this," he tapped the envelope, "this is my voice when I can't speak." He put it in my hand. "Keep it safe. And Rachel, whatever happens, don't fight them with shouting. You were never any good at it. Let the paper speak." He got in his car. He drove away. I stood in the parking lot with the envelope in my hand and a feeling in my chest that felt like grief. Before the loss had even happened, I was right to feel it. 3 weeks later, Grandpa had a heart attack in his sleep. He didn't wake up. The funeral was on a gray Saturday. I planned all of it. I picked the hymns he liked. I ordered the flowers. I wrote the obituary. My parents showed up late. They sat in the back. They whispered to each other during the eulogy. Afterward, at the reception, my mother leaned over and asked me what I thought the house would fetch. I thought I'd misheard. "The house?" I asked. "Grandpa's house," she said. "It's too big for one person. Now that he's gone, well, someone needs to manage the estate. And since your father and I are the closest living relatives." She didn't say it, but she meant it. They expected everything. They expected the will to be read soon. They expected to be named executors. They expected to sell the house, split the money, and move on. They didn't know about the meeting at Margaret's office. They didn't know about the new will. And they didn't know about the envelope in my safe deposit box. Margaret called me 2 weeks after the funeral. "It's time," she said. "I've scheduled the will reading for next Friday. I've notified your parents. They'll be there." "Okay," I said. "I'll be there." "And Rachel?" "Yes. We're something comfortable. It might take a while." I hung up. I opened my safe. I took out the envelope Grandpa had given me. I didn't open it. Not yet. Some truths, once you let them out, you can't fold back up. I put it in my purse. I added the visitor log from the hospital. I added the chart note from my doctor. I added a copy of the new will Margaret had filed. 3 documents. 1 folder. I sat at my kitchen table and looked at them. Grandpa's voice echoed in my head. "Don't fight them with shouting. Let the papers speak." I closed the folder. I put it in my bag. And I waited for Friday. Margaret's office was warm and smelled like old paper and coffee. My parents arrived 10 minutes early. They were dressed up. My mother wore pearls. My father wore a suit he'd probably bought for a wedding 10 years ago. They sat on one side of the conference table. I sat on the other. Margaret sat at the head. There was a third chair empty. "Where's Arthur's lawyer?" my father asked. "I thought there'd be more people." "This is everyone," Margaret said. My mother smiled. It was the smile she used when she was about to win something. "Well," she said, "let's get started. We have a lot to discuss. The house needs to be listed. The accounts need to be frozen. There's a lot of work to do." Margaret didn't smile. She opened a folder. "Actually," she said, "there's very little work to do, because the estate has already been settled." My father frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Margaret said, "that Arthur executed a new will 3 days before he passed. It supersedes all previous versions." My mother's smile flickered. "A new will, but the old one was from 2018. It left everything to us." "Arthur changed his mind," Margaret said. She pulled out a document. She slid it across the table. My mother reached for it. Margaret put her hand on top of it. "Read it carefully," she said. My mother read. Her eyes moved down the page, fast then slow. Then they stopped. She looked up. Her face was white. This can't be right." "It's right," Margaret said. "The house," my father said. His voice was tight. "The investments. The accounts. It's all for Rachel." "And Leo," Margaret said. "In a trust." My mother stood up. "That's impossible. Arthur wouldn't." "He did," I said. My voice was calm, quiet the way Grandpa taught me. My mother turned to me. Her eyes were wide, furious. "You did this," she said. "You manipulated him. He was sick. He was confused. You took advantage of him. I didn't stand up. I didn't raise my voice. I reached into my purse. I pulled out the folder. I opened it. I took out the first page. This," I said, "is the visitor log from St. Jude's Medical Center. Dated November 14th through November 17th. I laid it on the table. It shows 0 visits from you. 0 calls from you. It shows 72 hours of continuous presence from Arthur Vance." My father looked at the paper. He didn't touch it. "That doesn't mean anything," my mother said. "We were busy. We had plans. You had bridge night," I said, "while I was in surgery, while your grandson was born." My mother's mouth opened. Nothing came out. I took out the second page. Document 2, the medical chart note. "This," I said, "is a note from my attending physician, Dr. Evans. It states, patient reports no familial support during hospitalization. Grandfather acting as primary caregiver." I laid it beside the first paper. "This isn't opinion," I said. "This is medical record. It's documented. It's signed. It's part of my permanent health file." My father looked at the papers, then at me, then at Margaret. "Arthur saw this," he said. It wasn't a question. "He did," I said. "He was there. He held Leo when I couldn't lift my arms. He changed diapers when you were playing cards. He stayed when you left." My mother's hands were shaking. "That doesn't give him the right to." "It gives him every right," Margaret said. "Arthur was of sound mind. He understood his estate. He made a choice. And the law respects that choice." My mother sat down hard. She looked at the papers, then at me. "You planned this," she said. "You turned him against us." "No," I said. "You did that yourselves." I reached into the folder one last time. I took out the envelope, the cream-colored one. The wax seal was broken now. Document 3, the letter. "This," I said, "is a letter Arthur wrote to me the day he changed the will." I didn't read it. I slid it across the table to my mother. "Read it," I said. "It's addressed to the family." My mother picked it up. Her hands were trembling. She opened it. She started to read. Her eyes moved down the page, fast then slow. Then they stopped. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just went very still. She handed the letter to my father. He read it. He put it down. He looked at his hands. The room was silent. Not the polite silence of a lull, but the deep, ringing silence of a room where everyone has understood something at the same instant. And no one wants to be the first to speak. I'll tell you what the letter said, because it matters. Grandpa wrote, "To my family. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And if you're angry about the will, you need to understand why. Money isn't legacy. Presence is legacy." I watched what happened at the hospital. I saw who showed up. I saw who didn't. Rachel fought for her son. Mark flew across the country. I held my great-grandson and promised him he'd never want for anything. You two chose bridge night. You chose yourselves. So I'm choosing them. The house goes to Rachel. The money goes to Leo not because I love them more, but because they earned it. Family isn't blood. It's who stays when it's hard. And you left. Don't fight this. Don't contest it. You'll lose. And you'll lose more than money. You'll lose the only chance you have to be part of Leo's life. That choice is yours. Love, Arthur. My mother looked up. Her face was wet. He hated us, she whispered. No, I said. He loved you. He just loved truth more. The consequences. The legal process was fast. Margaret filed the new will. The court accepted it. There was no contest. My parents knew they'd lose. The evidence was to clear. The house transferred to me. The accounts transferred to Leo's trust. My parents got nothing. They had to move. They couldn't afford their mortgage. Without the inheritance, they'd already spent in their heads. They downsized to a condo across town. They didn't speak to me for 3 months. Then on Leo's first birthday, my mother called. Can we see him? She asked. Her voice was small. Come to the house, I said. But understand something. You're not coming as owners. You're coming as guests. And if you ever abandon him again, you don't come back. We understand, she said. They came, they brought a gift. They held Leo, they didn't mention the house. They didn't mention the money. They just showed up. It's been a year now. They're trying. It's awkward. It's slow. But they're trying. My father mows my lawn now. Every Saturday. Without being asked. My mother babysits when I have work trips. She never cancels. She never says she's busy. They're learning. Maybe too late. But they're learning. I kept the house. I kept the letter. I kept the visitor log. I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the principle. Grandpa taught me one thing. Family can vote you out of the story all they want. But the people who actually stay are the ones who get to keep the house. And the name and the truth. I sit on Grandpa's porch sometimes. Leo plays in the yard. The swing creaks the way it always did. My parents come over for dinner once a month. We eat at the table Grandpa built. We talk about safe things, whether work, Leo's school. We don't talk about the will. We don't talk about the hospital. But sometimes, when my mother holds Leo, I see her look at me. And I see something in her eyes that wasn't there before. Gratitude. Because she knows. She knows I could have said no. She knows I could have kept them out forever. But I didn't. Because Grandpa's letter said, that choice is yours. And I chose to let them try. Here's what I learned sitting in that lawyer's office while my parents realized. They'd lost everything. The truth doesn't need volume. It needs documentation. My parents thought love was a given. They thought family was a right. They thought they could show up when it was convenient and disappear when it wasn't. Grandpa proved them wrong. And I proved them wrong. Not with yelling. Not with drama. Not with scenes. With paper. With records. With a will signed at 6 a.m. while they were sleeping. If someone you love is being pushed to sign something they don't understand, don't wait. Ask questions.